Isang bulan na mo orang cuma mata ni kuan ni rangon ni bibo kamar tagi ke misa apa? Ni ada di sambulu bidang na sero gori sana. Cuma kira na mo orang cuma ini. Tu nasile. Ni sambula, oyo Mr. Ben.
Kelapa?
Nama kira ni bibo mata ka mo ni kira mo orang bukan main ono. Kena diwa, Nabula FM.
Apa tu nasile?
Good evening, this is FBC News. I'm Jackie Spate. In this bulletin, handing out of micro-small business grants to become an annual event. Public consultations to be called in preparation for 2016 budget announcement. And Fiji ranked on Tier 2 for human trafficking. The government's micro and small business grant will now become an annual event, which will be funded through budget each year. Prime Minister Vurengembani Marama made the announcement while giving out grants to recipients in the Northern Division. Ritika Pratap reports.
466 businesses and individuals in Savu Savu received grants of $1,000 each from the government.
I'm handing each of you a certificate today that you will then take to the officers of the Fiji Development Bank, who are with us in that tent over here. Sorry. They will then give you a check from the FDB made out to the supplier of whatever equipment or materials that you have requested in your application. You then take that check to the supplier and pick up the goods you've applied for.
This is the fourth grant distribution by the government, as more than 1,500 people have so far received their grants in Suva, Nawa, Singatoka and now Savu Savu.
A large number of you receiving grants today have agricultural, livestock businesses or tourism-related ventures such as handicrafts and souvenirs.
Today, 2,118 people have benefited from the government's SME program. Benny Marama says another 1,200 grants will be handed out soon in Vanuatu, including Kiowa and Rambe.
Rather than being a one-off, we are going to fund it through the budget each year to give more of our budding entrepreneurs a leg up. Because we recognize the importance of this initiative for our national development and to fulfill our vision of creating a modern nation state.
At the start of the program, government received more than 25,000 applications. Of these, more than 700 were deemed eligible. Meanwhile, more than 400 small businesses and individuals in Tavyuni also received their grants this morning. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
The new Mbudha Bay Road was opened by Prime Minister Vurengembani Marama yesterday. Ritika Pratap again with this report.
The new Mbudha Bay Road is one of the biggest infrastructure projects ever undertaken in the Northern Division. 6 villages and 7 settlements will now benefit from the new 30-kilometer sealed road.
Parents are now less anxious because your children can get to school faster and more safely. We are saving lives because the sick can get more rapid assistance at the health center or the hospital in Savu Savu. Everyone can get their produce or fish to market faster and in a fresher state, so that you can earn as much as possible for it.
Prime Minister Vurengembani Marama had opened the first 10 kilometers of the new sealed road from Nangingi to Nangere last year. The remaining 20-kilometer section from Nangere to Kasavu was opened yesterday.
When I opened the first section of the road to Nangere last year, I said that this project underlines my government's commitment to the welfare of the people of the North and is a cornerstone of our Look North policy. We have a vision to transform the North to extend to the people of Vanuatu the same level of services Fijians enjoy on Viti level.
The project, which took 4 years to complete, was financed by the Exim Bank of China through the Fijian government.
China is engaging Fiji not only in infrastructure building, but also in a comprehensive manner in all fronts that are related to the economic and the social development of Fiji. So, this Fbctv Road is a simple reflection, of the good and sound relationship between our two countries.
Exim Bank of China provided a loan of $73 million for the project. This is on top of the $40 million provided for Stage 1. Ritika Pratap, FBC News.
Government will soon receive written submissions to start off their preparation for the national budget, which will be announced in November. Minister for Finance Said Qayyum says submissions will be open to the public, private sectors and various NGOs. Ali Kimbia has more.
Views and submissions from the people are vital for the budget expected to be delivered on the 6th of November.
We are going to have 3 consultations, one in Suva, Lautoka and Lambasa, on people's input to come make verbal representations on what they would like to see in the budget.
Government has confirmed that it has also received invitation from the Fiji Chamber of Commerce to have a whole-day session on the budget. Meanwhile, a major component for the budget announcement is the revenue collection from the Fiji Revenue and Customs Authority.
We are there, up and down, during the few months this year. There's some challenges there in terms of VAT refunds that need to be issued, but we're managing.
FIRCA is optimistic they are going to meet their target of $3.1 billion worth of revenue collection. Ali Kimbia, FBC News.
Fiji has been ranked in Tier 2 of the Trafficking in Persons report released by the U.S. State Department. A Tier 2 ranking means countries whose governments do not fully comply with the Trafficking Victims Protections Acts, but who are making significant efforts to comply to the standards. Maggie Boyle reports.
The report examines the current status of laws in each country and what governments are doing in order to combat human trafficking. It says Fiji is a source country for women and children subjected to sex trafficking and forced labour, and a transit and destination country for Asian men and women subjected to forced labour and forced prostitution. Adding that Fiji's liberal visa requirements, which allow nationals of 132 nations to enter the country without acquiring a visa, coupled with Fiji's role as a regional transportation hub, may contribute to Fiji being a transit area for human trafficking. The report also made a number of recommendations for Fiji to consider. Continue efforts to investigate and prosecute trafficking offences and convict and punish traffickers. Institute additional training for law enforcement and immigration officers on victim identification and protection. Develop and strengthen formal procedures to proactively identify trafficking victims. Make efforts to allow identified trafficking victims to work and earn an income while assisting with investigations, as well as disseminate more anti-trafficking awareness campaigns directed at individuals purchasing commercial sex and accede to the 2000 UN protocol. The 2015 report was launched by the United States Secretary of State John Kerry in Washington, D.C. earlier this week. The Ministry of Labour says it will comment on the report tomorrow. Maggie Boyle, FBC News.
Still to come on FBC News, Momi Bay and Natandola projects slowly earning their way back into books.
घर संसार में आपका स्वागत है। आपका अपना छोटा सा स्वर, जहाँ प्यार भरे रिश्ते पलते हैं, जहाँ हेल्थी रहने की सलाह दी जाती है, जहाँ हम आपको और भी सुंदर बनाते हैं और जहाँ स्वाद की सौगात भी है। नमस्कार, मैं हूँ पल्लवी। सोमवार से शुक्रवार 9 से 12 तक रेडियो फिजी 2 देश की धड़कन पर घर संसार में शामिल रहिए मेरे साथ। ऐसा सुंदर सपना अपना।
Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama has expressed his sorrow at the death of former Vanuatu Prime Minister Edward Nathape after a long illness. In a condolence message sent to his Vanuatu counterpart, the Prime Minister described Nathape as a great leader of Vanuatu, whose death is a tragedy, not only for the country but for his family and colleagues. Bainimarama says while they sometimes had diverging views, he always regarded Nathape as someone who had the interests of his country at heart. Natape's political career was marked by a long record of service to the Ni Vanuatu, including 2 terms as Prime Minister from 2001 to 2004 and from 2008 to 2011. The Momi Bay and Natandola projects on the Coral Coast by the Fiji National Provident Fund are slowly earning their way back into the books. FNPF Chair Jit Korogoda says this is based on the value of the 2 properties after development and earnings from Intercontinental Fiji Gold Resort and Spa. Edwin Nunn reports.
The failure of the Momi Bay and Natandola projects led to a write-down of more than $300 million by the Fiji National Provident Fund. Now, though, the fund has been able to write back $44 million, thanks in part to the resort in Natandola and the soon-to-open residential sales in September.
The first stage of the residential sale, which involves about 44 titles going on to the market. This is leading up to the PGA in November. So that program gives the profile to Natandola. And also this will actually improve the value for that land which is locked at the moment. So that opportunity for us. So the next strategy, the next part of Natandola is trying to recover from the residential project.
Momi Bay is also progressing well, with local builders Fletcher Construction working on schedule. With works at the halfway stage, FNPF says they have complete oversight and expect works to finish by October 2016 within the $190 million budget. All in all, the FNPF expects that in the long term, both investments will more than make up for their troubled past.
I'm sure we will be able to sell the Natandola land and Momi and not only recover what has gone on, but probably do much better.
Marriott International has signed up to manage the 250-room Momi Bay Resort in Momi Nandi. Edwin Nunn, FBC News.
Fiji Airways has completed investigations into an incident where passengers on a Nandi to Los Angeles flight fell sick mid-flight. Fiji Airways Acting Chief Executive David Bowden says they've ascertained that neither Fiji Airways nor catering company Air Terminal Services is to blame. 12 passengers suffered diarrhea and vomiting, and paramedics had to attend to them on board the plane.
The ATS Catering, which is our service provider, has been exonerated in the sense of the origin of the sickness didn't stem in the national carrier. The origin was stemming prior to the actual passengers boarding the aircraft itself.
The passengers affected had been staying at the same resort before catching the flight to the US. The resort in question was informed of the incident. An individual who was sexually abused as a child is an adult survivor of child sexual abuse. Sexual abuse can affect survivors long after the attack. Child sexual abuse has lifelong effects if it is not appropriately dealt with.
For the more mature victims, they will understand, I have lost something precious. I'm no longer whole. Something has been broken. How they have their self-confidence, their self-esteem. And it may, for some, be like to assure themselves that I'm still lovable. They can go into many relationships, not because they're flirting or not because of sex, but because deep inside and mostly in an unconscious level that I'm still lovable. Somebody still loves me. When you go through the trauma, you also grieve. You lose something very significant to yourself.
While it is difficult and often painful to work towards recovery from childhood abuse, healing is possible when survivors have a support network that can provide them with nurturance, assistance and appropriate levels of care. A joint working group of government officials from India and Fiji are meeting in Suva this week to review a health agreement signed between the 2 countries. The officials are from the Ministries of Health and Fiji's High Commission in New Delhi. Julie Vatwaliwali reports.
Officials are scrutinizing the Memorandum of Agreement to see what areas have been achieved and where there can be further cooperation. The Joint Secretary for the Ministry of Health of India, Dairitri Panda, says Fiji has sought assistance in other areas besides medical education and drug procurement.
Basically, training and admission in Indian medical colleges and institutions, manufacture and supplies of pharmaceuticals, then Indian doctors to work in Fiji under Indian government assistance, and to collaborate in public health, and for development of assistance for development in a new 500-bed super specialty hospital for tertiary care. These are going to be in the agenda for discussion.
The Health Ministry's acting permanent secretary, Metrisela Tudakau, says the meeting will benefit the country.
To get some assistance from India as accordance to the agreement, and hopefully that will improve the way we take care of our fellow Fijians in terms of pharmaceuticals, in terms of clinical services, in terms of clinical development in most of the challenged areas in health.
The next joint meeting will be held in New Delhi next year. Julie Vatuwaliwali, FBC News.
The vessel Utoniyalo is preparing to sail on what it calls a chocolate voyage through the Pacific. The canoe will collect cocoa beans from 3 countries and take them to a chocolate factory in New Zealand. Akusita Tale has the details.
The final items checked off the list for what it's expected to be a 2-month journey covering 6,000 nautical miles through the Pacific. The crew are preparing for the chocolate voyage called Sokondonu.
The Utoniyalo began sailing in 2010, where our major focus has been on growing the number of Fijians that learn about our traditional sailing, traditional navigation, as well as traditional boat building. At this juncture, the Utoniyalo Trust, we feel we're at a point where we can start to partner with other organizations to advance sustainable sea transportation in the region.
The canoe will transport 1-ton cargo of cocoa beans from Vanuatu and Bougainville in Papua New Guinea to the Wellington Chocolate Factory in New Zealand.
The voyage in total from Suva to Vanuatu and then onward to Bougainville and to the Wellington Chocolate Factory is expected to take about 6 weeks in total. At that point, the Utoniyalo will start in Wellington before sailing to Napier, Tauranga, Auckland and Opua before sailing back to Fiji in October.
The crew members from Fiji are excited about the journey.
There'll be big high seas. It'll be just a great trip. Just a nice sail with good winds. Yeah.
So this is your first trip?
This is my first trip to go out of Fiji. I did some trips just around Fiji, yeah, but this is the first time.
Try and get our new crew up there into sailing, and just help them out, teach them more.
While in New Zealand, the canoe will sail along the coastline to visit communities where densely populated Fijians live to share Fiji's ancient voyaging traditions with them. The Utoniyalo will leave Suva tomorrow morning. Akusita Talei, FBC News.
Sports is up next, and Jamie joins you now with the latest.
Thank you, Jackie, and good evening. In sports tonight, preparing to face Japan tomorrow, John McKee says the Flying Fijians will remain undistracted and take each game as it comes. And Nandi football hell-bent on claiming this year's BOG title. Details after the break.
If you just joined us on the System After Dark, this is a homegrown number courtesy of E3 and Cracker. Bulla, how's it going? I'm D, your host on the System After Dark, right here on Today FM. Today's hit music. You can catch me weeknights at 7 p.m. That's from Monday to Friday, only on the home of Today's hit music. And don't forget, that's D with you every weeknight on the System After Dark. Even got that homebrew flowing.
The Vodafone Flying Fijians are wrapping up preparations for its Pacific Nations Cup match against Japan tomorrow. While some attention has been drawn to its lackluster second-half performances in its last few matches, Coach John McKee has reiterated the importance of the side focusing on each game as it comes. That match starts at 10 a.m. tomorrow. The Nandi football team is focused on being consistent at the 2015 Inc. Mobile Battle of the Giants. Nandi hasn't won the BOG's title since 1996 and is bent on changing that this year. Josephine Navula has more.
The jet setters have been working tirelessly in the past few days as they gear up to make a comeback at this year's tournament. Team director Javed Ahmed says at times inconsistency has been the downfall for the team.
Make sure that we're sharp in our finishing. Fitness levels obviously needs to be there because it's a tournament, so 3 games in 3 days. But I think the key area, if we can work on our finishing and improve that, we'll be really strong.
Nandi is aiming to make a strong start from its first match.
We have been consistent as well in the National League. We didn't do so well in the Fiji Fact, but we are hoping to do better in the Battle of the Giants. It's one tournament we have not been lucky with in the last couple of years, so we are hoping to come out and win our first game against Suva.
The team is also expected to make a couple of changes in its lineup.
We've got some new players that we have introduced later in the league, so we'll try and get them in, but most of the players have been with us from the inception of the league, and we're hoping that that same combination can do the trick for us. We lost 1 game in the league, and that was quite unlucky against Lambasa. So we're hoping that the boys come with a similar performance, and if we click, then we'll be hard to stop.
The jet setters is pooled with Lautoka, Suva and Tailevunai Tasiri in Pool B and will be taking on Suva at 3 p.m. on Friday. Josephine Novula, FBC Sports.
Meanwhile, the Nandranga football team has recognized there are areas in its game that need improvement, and the side has been working hard to iron this out before the BOG begins. Nandranga Vice President Tiko Matawalu says training sessions with the players have been progressing well, but there's still more room for improvement.
There are a lot of things that we need to work on to be able to prepare a competitive team. And realistically, there are a lot of areas that we need to work on, and that's actually what we're working on.
Nandranga is pooled with Lambasa, Ba and Rewa in Pool A and takes on Lambasa in its opening match at 5:30 p.m. on Friday. Sponsorship of the Fiji Pearls took another step up today with Coca-Cola signing a 3-year deal with the national netball team. The $60,000 deal could not have come at a better time with the World Cup starting next Friday. Rohit Deo reports.
It just keeps getting bigger and better for the national netball side. The new sponsorship deal will see the association getting $10,000 cash and $10,000 worth of products annually for the next 3 years.
We are proud to say that you've just come off springboard of the Pacific Games, been the Pacific champs, winning gold. It augurs well for your performance, and hopefully, it'll continue towards the World Games. So our product and our sponsorship is just not about being together; it's about us working together to help develop the sport of netball in Fiji in general.
The association is pleased to have struck the deal.
When we have host tournaments in here, we actually ask Powerade, Coca-Cola to provide Powerade as the official sports drink for tournaments. So this is not the first time. In fact, we've been working together for the last 5 years. Absolutely. But this is the first time that we've come to a long-term agreement such as this.
And formalize it.
Yes, and formalize it too.
The side leaves for Australia on Monday, where they will play 2 warm-up matches against Singapore and Jamaica. Fiji's first match at the World Cup will be against Wales on Friday week. Rohit Deo, FBC Sports.
The Fiji cricket team received a helping hand today ahead of participation at the Cricket League 6 in England. The Fiji National Sports Commission handed over a cheque of $65,000 to help the team prepare for the event. Fiji will play 6 50-over matches at the tournament. The Cricket League 6 starts in September. That was your sports for this evening. It's back to Jackie now with business.
Fiji will be assessed on how well it is complying with international anti-money laundering standards come October. Some of the things Fiji will be assessed on include its anti-money laundering laws, policies, coordination, powers of the law enforcement agencies, preventative measures for financial institutions, convictions and confiscation of proceeds of crime. Financial Intelligence Unit Director Razim Baksh says the mutual evaluation will be intensive and will involve the public and private sector agencies. The National Anti-Money Laundering Council is preparing for the visit by a team of experts to undertake the peer assessment. cloudy periods with few showers were experienced over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands. Elsewhere, mainly fine weather prevailed. A trough of low pressure lies slow moving over Tuvalu and extends eastwards over Tokelau and southeastwards over southern Cooks. Meanwhile, a broad east to southeast wind flow prevails over most southwest Pacific Island countries. In temperatures, maximum temperatures range from 26 to 30 degrees today. Savu hit 26, while Mombasa notched 30. Expect cooler weather all around tonight. Temperatures are expected to dip to 16 in Thavua and 21 in Bunisea, Kandavu and Levuka. Expect cloudy periods with few showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands tomorrow. Elsewhere, fine apart from possible afternoon or evening showers, cool nights. And the further outlook for Friday, some showers over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands, fine elsewhere, cool at night. And a quick recap of our main headlines. Prime Minister Vorenge Bainimarama announces micro-small business grants to become an annual event. Public consultations to be called in preparation for 2016 budget announcement. And Fiji ranked on Tier 2 in US State Department report on human trafficking. Now to our poll segment. This week we're asking, should more youths be encouraged to enter the local film industry? Visit our FBC website to take part. Remember, you can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email citizenseyes@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via Facebook page, FBC News. And if you're on Twitter, follow and tweet us your news tips at FBC_news or simply hashtag FBC News. You've been watching FBC News. I'm Jackie Spate. Good night.
Gold FM, only the classic hits. Beautiful song from the group Firehouse and When I Look Into Your Eyes. Before that, you heard from Smokey Robinson with One Heartbeat. We'll take a short break and join us in the next hour for more music from Seal. Bulavanaka. I'm DJ Tora. Join me every weekdays, 7 until midnight on the Premium Classics. Right here on Gold FM, only the classic hits.